Make their voices heard about incidents on campus.
Russia and Ukraine meet for their latest round of peace talks.
And in sports, an Ohio basketball player was named a finalist for a national award. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Lexi Lepoff.
And I'm Joe Collins. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. The ongoing Ohio redistricting saga reached a new stage last night.
For the fourth time, the Ohio Redistricting Commission has passed new maps, and they now await approval from the state's Supreme Court. The commission made changes to maps that were previously adopted by the Ohio Supreme Court. The maps passed with a 4-3 vote across party lines just before the midnight deadline. The commission hired 2 independent map makers last week to help produce maps that followed the state's constitution. And while the map makers did complete district maps, Republicans on the commission raised concerns. The map makers were paid $450 over the last week, with a cap at $49,000. Earlier this week, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled public safety should not be a factor when considering bail for defendants in Ohio, but the state's Attorney General wants that to change. Dave Yost is backing an amendment that would again allow safety to be a consideration for judges setting bail. Yost says the amendment is, quote, necessary to keep communities safe. Legislation has been introduced in both the Ohio House and Senate in hopes of putting the issue on the ballots in November. Last night, Republican candidates for the open U.S. Senate seat faced off in a debate, and 6 of the 7 continued to embrace false allegations that 2020 president election was stolen from former President Donald Trump, or that there was a widespread election fraud, which was also been disproven. Cleveland area State Senator Matt Dolan was the only candidate who did not push this. The debate held at Central State University was the first for the entire slate of candidates, with Democrats taking the stage earlier in the day. Other central themes for GOP candidates included American values, security, and the economy.
Weather this morning with lows in Athens reaching down to around 20 degrees, but that's going to be quickly changing as we head into tomorrow. But as we look at right now, we do have some precipitation off to our east, but that's not likely to reach the ground because it's been so dry today, where we have humidity at around 24%. That's going to continue through the evening, but as we head through tonight, humidity will quickly jump back up, and we will see some isolated rain showers through tonight. Right now it is 45 across Athens, and across the region we're in the mid-40s, but heading into tomorrow, temperatures are going to quickly reach the upper 70s. But for tonight, we're going to be reaching back down to around 34 degrees. Again, isolated chance of showers through the night. But later on in my full forecast, we're going to be going through some dry weather tomorrow, as a red flag warning will be going into effect tomorrow. But for right now, I'm going to be handing it back to Joe.
Thanks, Henry. Well, Ohio University investigates a number of incidents directed at black students. Students gathered last night to talk about what they want to see from the university. WOUB reporter Andre Norrells tells us how some black students at OU feel following these incidents.
Hundreds of students gathered at Ohio University to talk about discomfort of minorities on campus and the lack of support from faculty and other students. Dozens stood up to share personal stories to classmates and university staff in attendance. One of these students was sophomore Ben Hamilton. He came to share his opinion because of how the racial incidents made him feel.
I was shaking in my boots, because that could have happened to me.
Freshman Gia Harper felt the emails the university sent to students regarding the racial incidents wasn't enough.
We wanted to kind of see more of an action, because anyone can email something, but not everyone can take an action to that email.
Harper helped organize this event to help black students express their feelings to the university.
We can't stop racism. That's just not possible. But if we can make this place better, then we've accomplished something.
Many students gave ideas to the university on how they can make life for minorities on campus better. Some of these include diversity training for faculty, changing the application process for students, and to hire a more diverse staff. Hamilton believes things can change, but people need to come together.
Unity, that's what we need, unity. If we work together as a unit, if we work together in symphony, we will be able to destroy bigotry. We gotta work together though. We can't leave a brother, we can't leave a sister behind.
At Ohio University, I'm Andre Norris for Newswatch.
To submit ideas or feedback to the university, people can go to www.ohio.edu/diversity/feedback. West Virginia residents can now apply for assistance with paying their water or wastewater bills. The Department of Health and Human Resources say that applications for this federally funded program opened yesterday. Qualified applicants have an annual income that is at or below 60% of the state's median income. Interested applicants can request an interview or get more information by contacting the local Department of Health and Human Resources. Hearings begin on the next federal budget today, and the latest on the war in Ukraine. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Consumer DNA testing, used by millions to research their family history. But the results can be life-changing.
I said, oh my God, you're my sister.
Without my DNA, it would have been dead in the water. They quite possibly saved my life.
Do you know what you're signing up for?
This is something that's truly new.
Secrets in Our DNA on Nova.
Music photography is like the music itself. It's part of our cultural heritage.
What I do is a form of music. It's just music for the eyes.
Best job in the world.
I'm a rock fan. I want to see that picture and I want to feel it.
Cover of Rolling Stone meant you were something.
It's about music, artistry, and energy.
It's more than just a photograph, it's a work of art.
The American identity begins when Benjamin Franklin knit the American colonies together.
Franklin is endlessly interesting.
Printer, scientist, revolutionary.
He is the only founding father who evidently had a sense of humor.
His vision is broader than the American Revolution.
The things that he spoke of, that he wrote about, had a certain amount of power.
He really was an American genius.
Benjamin Franklin starts Monday, April 4th on PBS and the PBS app. This is an animal you should never underestimate.
Squirrels are one of the most agile animals on Earth.
From outwitting rattlesnakes to surviving sub-zero temperatures, squirrels are anything but ordinary. Now one orphaned red squirrel and a cast of cheeky characters are going to reveal the secret to squirrel success.
Welcome back. A major strategy shift. That's what U.S. officials are calling the Kremlin's latest plan to drastically reduce military forces in 2 Ukrainian cities. The Russian Ministry of Defense said it has decided to de-escalate following peace talks. Chris Wynn reports on this key military change and what Russia expects in return.
A significant move on 2 fronts. Russia pulling back some forces from Kyiv and Chernihiv following the latest peace talks with Ukraine in Istanbul, with Turkey hailing the talks as the most meaningful progress yet. More than a month into the invasion, many crediting the underestimated resilience of the Ukrainian people.
I do think that Ukraine is in a good negotiating position, much better than they would be had they not been able to push the Russians out of Kyiv.
Paramount to Russia's change in strategy, an agreement on neutrality. A Ukrainian presidential advisor saying a meeting between Putin and Zelensky is now a likelihood. But the shelling of northern cities continued on Tuesday, even as the de-escalation was announced.
Mr. Mayor, what was that?
You have just heard an explosion. That means something has flown in to attack us. You can give this recording to your military and they will tell you that this is not our explosion. This isn't us striking something. This is something that has come from the enemy side.
U.S. officials believe Russian forces are pulling back in some areas of the north to focus on gains in the south and the east. But Secretary of State Antony Blinken cautions that this could be a deception.
There is what Russia says, and there's what Russia does. We're focused on the latter.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
America's worker shortage, a hallmark of the pandemic economy, is far from being fixed. The federal government reports U.S. businesses had 11.3 million job openings to fill in February, slightly more than economists had predicted. The level of available positions was little changed from the start of the year, but below the December all-time high of 11.4 million. Meanwhile, the number of Americans quitting their jobs inched up to 4.4 million in February. That's slightly higher than in the month before, but below the November peak of 4.5 million.
House hunting is wallet crushing these days. Home prices have been on the rise since last year, and it doesn't look like things are going to change anytime soon. The latest numbers from the U.S. National Home Price Index show prices rose more than 19% in January from the year before, the fourth largest year-over-year jump in the 35 years since the index came out. There's data on 20 cities, and 16 of the 20 have seen home prices continue to rise, with Phoenix, Tampa, and Miami seeing the biggest gains. The U.S. federal budget affects your life more than you might think. It could impact your energy bill or your community's law enforcement. Each year, the president drafts the budget and sends it to Congress for revisions. Lawmakers are scheduled to begin discussing President Joe Biden's 2023 budget today. Amy Kiley looks at what's in it and how Biden hopes to pay for it.
Congressional hearings on next year's federal budget are taking off. A House committee is scheduled to look over President Joe Biden's plan today.
The budget I'm releasing today sends a clear message to the American people that what we value.
Here are some of the highlights. Biden wants more funding for NASA. It could put the first woman and person of color on the moon and prepare for human exploration of Mars someday. He also wants to increase funding to combat the opioid epidemic and
we still spend what we need to spend to continue to fight COVID. But those expenditures will be dramatically less than last year.
His plan has money for crime prevention, law enforcement, and defense spending. Republicans say funding for that last item isn't enough.
Putin and Xi will sleep more soundly at night if the Biden administration gets its way on defense funding than if Republicans get ours.
Biden also wants to improve the supply chain and domestic manufacturing and favor clean energy. To pay for all that, he wants to restore some corporate taxes Republicans chopped in 2017. He'd like to increase income tax for people who are worth more than $100 million. And he wants them to pay for unrealized capital gains. Those occur when things like stocks increase in value even before people sell them. Moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he's skeptical about that idea.
No matter how wealthy they are, they should have to pay. Everyone should pay, but not penalized to the point to where it doesn't make sense.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
President Joe Biden is expected to sign a bill on Tuesday making lynching a federal hate crime. Congress approved the legislation earlier this month with overwhelming bipartisan support. It's called the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act of 2022. Till was lynched by a group of white men in 1955 in Mississippi when he was just 14. The men said the boy had whistled at a white woman. Till's murder sparked national outrage and was a catalyst for emerging civil rights movement. Advocates have been trying to pass federal anti-lynching legislation for more than a century. Travel prices around the country are on the rise. That story still ahead.
Tomorrow, and also drying out, where a wet red flag warning will take effect tomorrow, and we also see the chance of rain return. I'll have more on this in my full forecast coming up, but first a look at stocks of local interest.
Music photography is like the music itself. It's part of our cultural heritage.
What I do is a form of music. It's just music for the eyes.
Best job in the world. I'm a rock fan. I want to see that picture and I want to feel it.
Cover of Rolling Stone meant you were something.
It's about music, artistry, and energy.
It's more than just a photograph, it's a work of art.
On American Experience, a brutal murder in 1942.
The word went on in the neighborhood, they're picking up everybody. Somebody got killed.
A sensational trial.
It was plastered all over the papers.
A city erupts in violence.
You see these servicemen beating the heck out of all these Mexicans.
Los Angeles was like a war zone.
Zoot Suit Riots on American Experience.
On Expedition.
I'm with an expert team pushing deep into South America's pristine jungle.
This is the middle of nowhere.
To find a lost world never before seen by human eyes.
What do you think? We're completely on our own. It looks pretty intimidating. What's your room? It's incredible.
These places are absolute treasures, and we have to do everything we can to protect them.
We came here looking for lost worlds. We found one.
Expedition. Tune in or stream Wednesday at 10/9 Central, only on PBS.
The American identity begins when Benjamin Franklin knit the American colonies together.
Franklin is endlessly interesting.
Printer, scientist, revolutionary.
He is the only founding father who evidently had a sense of humor.
His vision is broader than the American Revolution.
The things that he spoke of, that he wrote about, had a certain amount of power.
He really was an American genius.
Benjamin Franklin starts Monday, April 4th on PBS and the PBS app.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm forecaster Henry Groff with a look at your weather for the week. And we have seen a lot of cold weather the past couple days, even seen some light snow showers over the weekend. And we even saw the 20s this morning, but that is quickly going to be changing for tomorrow. But taking a look at our radar across the region, we do have precipitation off to our west, but that is not reaching the ground because here it's been really dry towards the surface with a humidity of around 24%. So we're not going to be seeing any precipitation for the next couple hours, including across the region through Indiana. But we do have a developing storm system through the Central Plains that's going to be moving through our area over the next couple days, where it's going to be quickly warming up. But overnight tonight, we're going to be reaching down to around 34 degrees with an isolated shower. Not expecting much in the way of any heavy precipitation, so just watch out for some drizzles overnight tonight. But looking at tomorrow, that developing low pressure system will be moving through the region. We do have a strong warm front that's going to be moving through ahead of a pretty strong cold front that's going to be bringing showers and thunderstorms across the Midwest, but we aren't expecting any severe weather across our region. But in terms of the dry weather, we do have a red flag warning that's going to be going into effect tomorrow afternoon, and that's going to be lasting through around 8 p.m. because of the really warm weather, the dry humidity, and also we're going to be seeing wind gusts tomorrow of up to around 30 miles per hour, and that's also why towards our west we do have also a wind advisory in effect. But tomorrow it's going to be really warm with high of around 78 degrees, and we're going to be seeing a low of around 57. Again, it's going to be mostly cloudy. It's going to still be really dry. But as we head through tomorrow night, warm front moves past. We still have that cold front that we're looking out ahead in the west. That's going to be bringing plenty of showers and thunderstorms, where there is an isolated chance of some severe weather, but that's mostly going to be towards the west through the Midwest and down through Mississippi. But here, we're not going to see much because by the time the line of showers and thunderstorms move through, it's going to be through overnight tomorrow, heading into Thursday morning as the cold front moves through, and that's going to cause these storms to start to weaken. So we aren't going to see much in the way of any active weather. But over the next couple days, we do see a cool down, heading down to 69, and then by Friday, we head down to around 52. And looking at your 7-day forecast, we do again see temperatures continue to drop off to around 52 degrees. And the cold weather will still stick around because it is spring, We do see lots of temperature swings, but heading into early next week, temperatures will start to head back to the mid to upper 60s. But for now, I'm going to be handing it back to Lexi.
Brace yourself for larger crowds and higher airfares this spring 22 travel season. Experts are blaming high demand and skyrocketing jet fuel prices. Take a look at spring 2022 travel trends and why you may want to start booking your summer flights now.
The spring break travel season is on, and experts say expect higher crowds and pricier airfares.
Jet fuel is costing more, and airlines do have that major expense to pass down to consumers.
Last month, average airfare in the U.S. went up 5% compared to 2019 levels, according to an analysis by the Adobe Digital Economy Index, which analyzed online sales from 6 of the top 10 U.S. airlines.
You need to be quicker and more aggressive to grab good fares when they come up, because they're going to be fleeting.
Travel expert Willis Orlando from Scott's Cheap Flights says the ongoing conflict in Ukraine is partly to blame for those soaring prices. Earlier this month, Delta Airlines indicated ticket fares could rise by as much as 10% to offset the sharp increase in jet fuel costs. Orlando says the conflict is also rerouting demand towards domestic and short-haul international destinations.
Folks who were thinking of going to Paris are now turning around and saying, no, I'm going to Cancun. So you're not going to be alone. You're going to be fighting for other folks for those fares. You're going to see bigger crowds, bigger waits for things. You're going to see higher prices for hotels and the like.
The war also delaying what airlines hoped would be the return of travel to Europe this summer. Orlando says it's spooking many away from overseas travel. And with lower demand, it could create an opportunity.
That should mean that we see some more fare sales, lower prices as airlines try to get those tickets sold.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Coming up in sports, Mark Sears was named a finalist for National Player of the Year award. That story's still ahead. And stay tuned to WOUB after the show. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
On American Experience, a brutal murder in 1942.
The word went on the neighborhood, they're picking up everybody. Somebody got killed.
A sensational trial.
It was plastered all over the papers.
A city erupts in violence.
You see these servicemen beating the heck out of all these Mexicans.
Los Angeles was like a war zone.
Zoot Suit Riots on American Experience.
This is an animal you should never underestimate.
Squirrels are one of the most agile animals on Earth.
From outwitting rattlesnakes to surviving sub-zero temperatures, squirrels are anything but ordinary. Now one orphaned red squirrel and a cast of cheeky characters are going to reveal the secret to squirrel success.
Consumer DNA testing, used by millions to research their family history. But the results can be life-changing.
I said, oh my God, you're my sister.
Without my DNA, it would have been dead in the water. They quite possibly saved my life.
Do you know what you're signing up for?
This is something that's truly new.
Secrets in Our DNA on Nova.
The American identity begins when Benjamin Franklin knit the American colonies together.
Franklin is endlessly interesting.
Printer, scientist, revolutionary.
He is the only founding father who evidently had a sense of humor.
His vision is broader than the American Revolution.
The things that he spoke of, that he wrote about, had a certain amount of power.
He really was an American genius.
Benjamin Franklin starts Monday, April 4th on PBS and the PBS app.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm Tanner Watts. Ohio basketball guard Mark Sears was named a finalist for the 2022 Lou Henson National Player of the Year award. The award recognizes the best overall player from a mid-major conference at the end of every season. This is the second straight year an Ohio player was named a finalist. Jason Preston received the nomination last season. Mark Sears, who took over for Preston and was second in scoring for the MAC with 19.7 points per game. Also averaged 4.1 assists to go with 1.7 steals per game. Other players from the Mid-American Conference on the list include MAC Player of the Year Sincere Carey and Toledo's Ryan Rollins. With Ohio's baseball and softball in action later this week, both look to make a jump in the MAC standings. The baseball team is third in the MAC behind Ball State and Central Michigan. The Bobcats have the chance to move up as they face the Chippewas this weekend. Ohio is one of 4 teams in the MAC that have 10 or more wins. Ohio softball finds itself sitting in 7th, tied with Bowling Green in Northern Illinois at 2 and 3 in the conference. Ohio has a matchup with top-ranked Miami this weekend in the Battle of the Bricks. The Cleveland Cavaliers returned to the win column at home last night after 2 crucial losses over the weekend. All-star point guard Darius Garland scored 25 points, added 12 assists to help down the Orlando Magic in a 107-101 victory. The Cavs had a scare in the game when rookie Evan Mobley left with the injury, but fortunately X-ray scans came back negative. Cleveland also clinched its first winning season without LeBron James since 1998 with their 42nd win of the season. The Cavs sit in second in the East, 1 game behind the Raptors and Bulls. This is the last place the Cavs want to be right now. If the season ended today, they would have a matchup against Brooklyn in the play-in tournament. The Nets now have a healthy Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, 2 of the league's best players. The Blue Jackets find themselves in a win-now mode with 16 games left in the regular season. The Blue Jackets take on the New York Islanders, who are 4 points behind the Columbus tonight. The Jackets' playoff window is shrinking even more so after a 3-2 overtime loss to the Minnesota Wild Friday. That put their losing streak at 3. The Blue Jackets are 15 points behind the Washington Capitals for a playoff spot, so it has become do or die for this young Jackets hockey club. The NFL announced new changes to the playoff overtime rules for the upcoming season. Both teams will be able to have the ball during overtime. If neither team scores, it becomes sudden death, but the safety will automatically end the game. This comes after pressure from fans after the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills in overtime this past postseason. The quarterback Josh Allen led a furious offensive comeback. Overtime ended without Allen and the Bills touching the ball. Teams that win the coin toss and possess the ball first in overtime are 10-2 in the playoffs throughout the NFL's history.
And like you said, obviously the Bills lost that game. It was a tough time. They didn't get a chance to possess the ball first in that overtime, and they ended up losing.
Well, you do have to remember the Bengals still secured the AFC Championship even without the rule. I won't let you forget that.
That is also true. And speaking of big games, or games that is, the city of New Orleans wrapping up preparations for college basketball's biggest moment, the NCAA Men's Final Four, set to play out in the Superdome this weekend. It puts New Orleans in the spotlight in a big way, bringing with it a bump for the city's economy. The tournament starts Saturday with Kansas taking on Villanova and Duke and UNC also facing off. This will be the first time the 2 North Carolina rivals meet in the NCAA tournament.
Taking a final look at your weather for tomorrow, it's going to be warm and dry with also gusty winds. That's why we have a red flag warning in effect from noon tomorrow through 8 p.m. And so that means watch out for if you plan on making a fire tomorrow, it's probably just the best idea not to do that because of these dry conditions. And going through tomorrow, we're going to be having a temperature of around 78, and those temperatures will drop back down after a cold front moves through on Thursday. But for now, I'm going to be handing it back to the desk.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Collins.
And I'm Lexi Lepov. Stay tuned for PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Visit Athens County. More information can be found at AthensOhio.com. Athens, it's more than a place. Support comes from the Center for Campus and Community Engagement at Ohio University and Give Pulse, a volunteer management platform for nonprofits and volunteers. At givepulse.com.